if you're at this stage, this golden stage, where you're like, hey, listen, Clint, how do I start a business? I've been working for the same company for 15 years. I'm a model citizen. They don't want to let me go. They pay me excellent because I make them money every single week. But I want to be at the point where I want to start hiring and training new people. Then I'm going to say, okay, let's talk. What's up, guys? Tile Freak here, episode 2 of my podcast, video cast, IG cast, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It is going to be about the subject of starting your own business. So many people message me, DM me, call me, ask me. This very simple question is, how do I start my own business? And no joke, my father has written books on this, believe that or not. Published books out there by my dad on how to start a business. Man, it is so hard to answer that question without telling people you don't want to start your own business. You hear that all the time, when you're like, you're a little kid and you go up to a wrestler and you're like, Macho Man Randy Savage, I want to be a wrestler so bad. And then he looks at you and he goes, brother, you don't want to be a wrestler. That's exactly what, that was more Hulk Hogan than it was Sam Randy. But my point is still the same, is you don't want to discourage people from starting their own business, but you also understand that they, in most cases, don't understand just how fucking hard this shit is. And when I say hard, I don't mean physical labor. I mean, sometimes sometimes you don't do anything all day physically and you're just fucking exhausted. Like, your mind is fried. And I tend to be a type of person who wants to think about a lot of things at the same time. I do a lot of tasks. I have a lot of projects going at one time. There's a lot going on in my head, and I tend to be a very kind of chaotic person mentally. So it's hard to wear me out mentally. It really is. So when I tell you that a business will wear your mind out, it's crazy. When you're thinking about the finances, you're thinking about the installation, and you got a call back and you have a client who won't pay, and you got to make payroll, and you're putting payroll on credit cards, or you're trying to pay the bookkeeper, and all of this, you're trying to stay afloat. And at the same time, you understand that business is not business without success, and success is not success without growth. Okay, so I hope you guys understand that those little train of thoughts that I had there is, in order to be a functioning business, you need to be successful. And in order to have a successful business, you need to be constantly growing. Stagnancy does not grow anything but moss. You understand? Like in a pool, algae and moss. A business is a fucking business. And if you're not growing or adapting constantly, you will not be successful. Now, in 1985, when you had a landscaping business and you conducted that business the exact same way for 20 years, well, you had a good business. It's not fucking 1980 anymore. People are so intensely in need of fucking Adderall, or not Adderall, what is it? Ritalin, because their minds are going all over the place, including mine. I need someone captivating my attention. Until I develop a 20-year-long relationship with a person, I forget people that are great all the time. Sometimes I'll be like, fuck, we got to get blinds in the house. There's 3 fucking people that are excellent window coverings people on my Instagram I've had conversations with, but I forget. And unless they're repetitively reminding me, unless they're impacting me on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever, I'm going to forget. So I have to think about that as my business as well. People, just because you met them once, just because you did one good job with them, doesn't mean that they're going to remember you every fucking time. Business is different. So keep in mind, folks, when you have a business, you have to be impactful, constantly, repetitively, evolving yourself, the people around you, everyone. So this subject of starting your own business is really difficult for me because most of what I want to tell people is no, you don't. And I have to kind of put that aside because I want to be a positive person. I want to be an encouraging type of person. My grandfather has a legacy that's it's incredible. My grandfather was, I'll say this really quick without getting too far off subject. This is about as far off subject as you can get. My grandfather was a missionary in Africa. Him and my grandmother both. In fact, my dad and my uncle and my aunts, they were all raised in Africa. So in Niger, Africa, my dad basically had a stick and a ball to play with, and that was it. But at the time, no one really understood the impact of my grandfather on the people around him. He just knew this is what he should be doing. And he had something inside him that drove him to do this. And they lived poor and broke and just through some experiences that my dad and my grandfather have told me, or not my grandfather, he died before I was born, but my dad has told me, my grandmother has told me these stories that blow my mind on how little they had and what little they got by with and got to travel the whole world doing it. But really, you don't understand as a teenager. So the long and the short of it is I went into a tile shop in Toronto just the other day, struck up a conversation with one of the salesmen there, and he was from Nigeria, which is right below Niger. And am I saying that? I don't even know. I have to look at a map. I don't know, okay? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know. But he was from Nigeria, and I told him, I said, oh, my grandfather was a missionary in Niger. And he goes, oh, Niger. And he starts telling me. And he says, I told him the village that my grandfather was in, and we had this long, wonderful conversation. And by the end of the conversation, he's thanking me for what my grandfather did. And I called my aunt, and I was like on the verge of tears in this. I know this sounds crazy, and it's nothing to do with tile, but stick with me on this. I was on the verge of tears. I called my aunt, and I said, so he was there in the 50s. So it would have been 60 years later. My grandfather's legacy has left people so impacted that they're thanking me for stuff that he did. Like this, it put so much into perspective for me. So when I say I want to leave a strong impact on people, now you understand why. And I'm not even gonna come close to touching the impact that my grandfather had on people. You know, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of people that he helped, and I don't mean helped them read the Bible. I mean he fed people. He did things, just nice things that has nothing to do with religion or anything else. So when I talk about, what kind of a presence that I want with people, I want to share the trade. That's what's driving me. Is not, there's no way I'll ever live up to that, but that's what I want people to think of when they think of me in the future. I want them to thank my fucking grandkids for shit that I helped people with. So that being said, I don't want to discourage people from starting a business. I don't want people to feel like I'm going to be a Debbie Downer for them. But the bottom line is a lot of people don't have what it takes to cut it running a business. A lot of people don't have the idea of long-term hard work, day in, day out, grinding the shit out of your fingertips with no notoriety in mind, with no dream or, pie in the sky, head in the clouds, dreamer type of shit. And how do I know this? Because that's the way I fucking started. I started with the idea that I want my name on my shirt. I want my own name on my truck. I want to tell people I own the business. That's exactly how I fucking started. The opposite. And that's exactly why it took me 20 fucking years to learn shit, because I had to learn it the hard way on everything. I had to go deep into bullshit fucking decisions, hard ass lessons constantly over and over and over again until it sunk into my head. You can't come to work with the idea that you're going to be rich. You can't come to work with the idea that you're going to step back and everybody's going to ooh and fucking awe over your beautiful work. No, that's not what you do when you come to work. You come to work so that when you're finished, you can pick it the fuck apart, tell yourself all the things that you should have done, and then try to do better on the next job. That is exactly how I address every single project to this point. And I've talked to a lot of installation professionals, guys that I really respect. And it's the same thing over and over again. Is every single one that I respect out there has told me very clearly, every single project, there's something that I wish I was a little bit better at. There's something I wish I did a little bit better on that project. Nothing is ever good enough. That, my friends, is what installing tile is all about, and having an installation business. Now, there's a big difference between having a business where you have you, maybe a helper, maybe another guy or girl, and there's a company. So if you want a company, well, that's a whole different ballgame. You need to be a businessman for that. And as most of you guys know out there, tile guys are not, tile women, tile guys, tile setters, tile installers are not business people for the most part. So you have to get ready to learn. And when I say you got to beat your head against the wall learning tile, adapting and figuring all that stuff out, it's a whole nother thing running a business. It's completely different when you get into the business realm. So you got to forget about tile installation while you build your business. I know that seems fucked up, right? So if you have a passion for tile, then chances are good you're going to be better off not starting a business or a company. If you have a passion for tile, I'll tell you right now, if I could go back, reset, do everything all over again, like completely all over again, I would work for one company for like 15 years. I would work for that company, and I would every single night go home and try to figure out how I could make tile better, like for an installer. And I would invent some kind of a tool, some kind of a thing, and I would probably come up with like 1,000 different inventions, and one of them might work. One of them might hit strong. I might be able to sell that. And that is how you could get rich, alpha setting tile. Because, like my boss told me when I first started, you're never going to get rich setting tile. You'll be comfortable. You will be comfortable. You'll make good money, but you're never going to get rich. So, working for a company allows you to pay attention to your passion. The minute you start trying to run a business or a company, you end up worried about money. It always comes down to money. And every estimate I go on, I tell clients the same thing. I'm going to set up a payment schedule. Sometimes it's one payment at the end of the job. Sometimes it's a deposit and then a payment at the end of the job. Sometimes it's 20 payments throughout a 3-month project. Whatever it is, I tell the people very clearly, please be on time with the payments. I'm going to send you this schedule now. It is up to you to make sure these payments are made. I do not want to have to remind you. I do not want to have to deal with you being late or changing the payment schedule on me, because you don't want me to be late doing my job. You don't want me to be late or offset or change the plan or the schedule while we're working on your job. So please don't do it to me. Because after all, if I'm worried about money while I'm setting tile, then I can't worry about setting tile. You understand? So for all of you out there who are trying to juggle between the both, worried about money, setting tile, you're in a very difficult position. And you will be until you get to the point where, you're doing $1 million a year in revenue, and you've got, 5+ employees. You're going to be worried about installation and money at the same time. And it's tough. It's a tough place to be. Probably the hardest. Once you start getting the ball rolling and you're in a position where you can hire the proper people to handle the proper tasks, well, then you can do whatever you want inside your company. You can hire a project manager, you can hire a bookkeeper, you can hire a receptionist, you can have an office, you can have tile setters, and then you can forget about everything and go on site and set tiles sometimes. That's kind of what I do. So I don't have, my business is not at the point where I've got secretaries and I've got all that stuff. But sometimes I'm in a position where I'm like, you know what? I want a couple of days off from running a business and I want to go set some tile. And I'll disappear in the office. I'll disappear from estimates. I'll disappear from, project management or whatever. And I'll just go set some tile. And there's been a few times where the guys are like, what are you doing here? That's my escape. That's where I make my videos. That's where I help share my information with you guys and everything. So keep in mind when you're running a business, you have to kind of juggle it if it's small enough. So be prepared for that. The only real, information that I can tell you is from failures of my own. And the money thing, it's huge. I've been homeless. I've lived in my truck several times in my life. I've been in really bad places, and it's hard to overcome that stuff, the money thing, when you're constantly behind. So if you start a business, my encouragement to you is work for a good company that pays every week, work for a company that doesn't make you worry about money, work for a company that allows you to do what you love to do. Be passionate. Try to help that company. Try to make that company money, because if you make them money, then you're valuable. Work your ass off for that company. Save. Do your research. Plan. So I got this thing I tell the guys. It's called SAPA. It's kind of stupid, but I remind them regularly. SAPA it stands for stop, analyze, plan, and attack. So many people try to, they barge in the door. Like I always think of Kramer on Seinfeld. He's like, I barge in the door and they start throwing tile down. And it's like, I gotta make money. Okay, fucking stop. Seriously, stop. Before you fuck everything up, before you bring a bunch of mess in here, before you fucking cover yourself in thin set, God, I hate that. Before you everything's a disaster, stop. Analyze your scenario. Get your buckets of water together. Unload your tools. Before you unload your tools, have a place to put your tools. All of these things matter tremendously the first half hour to 45 minutes of your day. Because once you set everything up properly and you're organized and you're clean and you're efficient with your setup, now you can begin your day. So now you've stopped. You've analyzed the scenario. You've made a plan for your day, how much footage you want to get down, where you want to unpackage your boxes, what walls you want to lean them on so that you can set on the opposite side of the room, who's going to bring you material, how are you going to back butter, what trowel are you going to use, how many buckets of water do you want, how many buckets of thin set, how much thin set are you going to make at a time, how many bags of thin set are you going to bring in, where are the boxes of tile, are they veining, are they numbered, are they directional, the size of your grout joints, where are your clips. Fuck, that's going to take you 45 minutes to an hour. And then you're not even talking about layout. You're not even talking about a conversation with the homeowner possibly. So fucking stop. Relax. Assess the scenario. Plan. Make a good solid plan for the day and possibly the whole job if you can. And then attack that motherfucker. So at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whenever you do finish everything you want to finish and set yourself up for success, then you fucking attack that shit. And you kill it till 3 o'clock and you sit up off your knees and you're like, holy shit, I got like 400 or 500 feet today. I'm good. I'm happy with my production. Move the fuck on. So that's a big part of it for me. Running your own business is you have to be very polished at SAPA. In my opinion. If you're not, then don't start your business. So those things, if you walk into a company and learn how to do those things, learn how to be organized, learn something similar to SAPA, and you educate yourself on the trade, you've learned about the thicknesses of tile. Where did tile come from? How is it baked? What's the difference between rectified? What's the difference, beveled? What does that do for your joint spacing? What kind of clips are good? What kind of clips aren't good? When should you use clips? When shouldn't you use clips? What's the fucking water ratio for thin set? 99% of guys, you walk up to them and you're like, hey, what's the water ratio for that thin set? They got no fucking clue. And in my opinion, the way my boss taught me, again, Donnie Bankson, thank you very much, sir, for teaching me what you did, is you need to know everything about tile before you fucking go out there and start fucking shit up. Before you go out and you're a baller, you need to know how to bullnose. You need to know how to miter. You need to know how to float a wall. You need to know how to dry pack a shower pan, self-level a floor, put uncoupling membrane. All of these different products, you better know what the fuck you're doing before you call yourself a tile setter. So when you go into that company, you better fucking be that tile setter. See, a lot of guys think, oh, you need to work for a company until you learn how to be a setter. And then you go on your own. No. Time the fuck out right there. So when you go to work for a company, your job, okay, listen to me. Your fucking job is to make that company money. This is really difficult for people to wrap their mind around because a lot of people go to a company and their job is to make money themselves. And you know how long that lasts? Not very long. Just ask the fucking 30 people that I've hired and they've fucking either gone on their own or didn't work out because they didn't like me anymore and all that other shit. If someone was that good of a fucking employee, then they would have stayed. You feel me? Because I'll make it worth it. I'll make it fucking worth it. If you're making the company money, I'm going to keep you. I'm going to do what I got to do to keep you. Whatever the fuck that is. So all the people out there who think going to work every day is so that you can make money, you're fucked up. And that goes for everything out there. That's not just tile. That's not just the trades. That's every fucking company, every job. And I hope this pandemic, I hope the COVID-19 thing has really woken people up and shook them a little bit and said, hey, listen, you know what? When you go to work for someone, your job is to make that company money. Your job isn't to go to work and do just exactly bare minimum the fuck enough so that you can take home a paycheck. The company's job is to make sure you get paid. Your job is to make sure you get the company paid. You understand? That's the fucking thought process that you need to have. Period. I don't care if you want to start a business or not. That is the process that should be happening in your brain. When you show up to a job, I need to make this company money today. Because that's the thought process. That's the way of thinking that's going to make you successful. Yeah, you're going to, well, then I'm making the company successful. Of course you fucking are. What do you think your job is? What the fuck do you think you're supposed to do in a day when you go on to work for someone? You're supposed to make them successful. That's literally why you're there. And how the hell do you know if you can start a business or not if you can't even help someone else be successful? So if you don't have the capability to go into a company that's already established, that's already got clients, that's already got work, that's already got payroll systems set up, and it's already got people answering phones, and it's already got a whole setup going on, how the fuck, if you can't walk into that business and help them, be an advantage to them, of value to them, then how the fuck do you think that you can go start your own business? You can't. It's just like setting tile. If you can't be a helper, then how the hell can you be a tile setter? Every single tile setter that I've ever met in my life, every good one, can jump into a situation and be a helper instantly. Can jump into any scenario and start mixing up mud. It may take a second for them to knock the rust off. Maybe they haven't mixed for a while. Maybe they haven't grounded for whatever. The point is, though, they should be a better helper than they are a tile setter. That's the point. It's called foundation for a fucking reason. You need a foundation. You need a baseline. So set yourself up for success by becoming excellent on the ground floor. Become excellent working for a company. Be an excellent employee before you expect to manage employees. So, to answer the question, how do I start a business? Well, ask yourself, are you the perfect employee? Are you the perfect helper? That's just it right there. That's the answer. You know how many times you hear about somebody complaining about their marriage or complaining about, what the fuck did you put into it? You know, complaining about, oh, my husband doesn't do this, my wife doesn't do this, this happens, that my relationship isn't what I want it to be, blah, blah, blah. Well, what the fuck did you do? Are you doing what you can? So that's what you have to ask yourself when you want to start a business. Do you have the ability to be the perfect employee? Can you listen to what the fuck someone else tells you every single day? Can you eat shit for years, making the same amount of money and never getting a raise? Can you do all of those things? Because when you go into business, that's exactly the type of person that you're going to want. And I'm not saying that because I want to hire someone and never give them a raise. I'm saying that the company has to be bigger than the fucking both of you. The company is bigger than me. The company is bigger than the guys that I've hired. The company trumps everything. So you better be a good ass fucking employee before you start a business. Otherwise, your business is going to go nowhere. Nowhere. And I've seen it a billion times. I haven't seen it a billion times. That's exaggeration. That's an exaggeration. But I've seen it a lot. People walk into a situation and they think they're going to fucking shot call their way into riches and fame and fortune and all this other shit, utilizing other people's experience, utilizing other people's hard work. Well, that doesn't fucking fly very long until those people realize that person's worthless. The person who's all talk isn't doing fucking anything, is worthless. Why would you pay them? Why should they get a chunk of the money when they're not doing anything? So, again, I'm going to reiterate this a bunch of times. You guys might be sick of it. But please, before you start a business, take notes on yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself on a real level there. Seriously. Because if you can't be a good employee, then you can't have a good business. If you can't be a good husband, then you can't have a good wife. It's everything in life. If you don't work hard on the framing, you can't have good drywall. And if you don't have good drywall, you can't have good tile. And if you don't have good taping, you can't have good paint. Blah, 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 blah. It all fucking boils down to the same shit. So accept and love, embrace the hard work, challenge yourself daily, educate yourself. If you're at this stage, this golden stage, where you're like, hey, listen, Clint, how do I start a business? I've been working for the same company for 15 years. I'm a model citizen. They don't want to let me go. They pay me excellent because I make them money every single week. But I want to be at the point where I want to start hiring and training new people. Then I'm going to say, okay, let's talk. Let's fucking talk. But that's going to be privately in a DM. Because if I give everybody out there all this information and you're too fast, you're too short, you're too early, you haven't put in the time, you haven't put in the effort, it's not going to do you any good. It's not going to fucking help you. I don't doubt that a lot of people out there have the ability to do the same thing I did, which is take an ass backwards idea and turn it into something good eventually. But if you just start out with the right mindset, if you start out with the right goals, and you put in the real, true hard work, then your life would be a lot better. Trust me. Have a good day, guys.